Live tonight from the virtual Phoenix Raceway in Avondale, Arizona, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the 2021 SimSeats Real Sim Racing Cup Series Championship. It is round number 30 of 30 on this 2021 campaign, and we're happy that you're with us as always on a Monday night here on RaceSpot TV. Tyler Maxon is our producer downstairs alongside Nolan Rempel. My name is Evan Pasoka. Nolan, tonight we will crown another Cup Series champion at RSR, and it could be one of the most hotly contested title fights we have ever seen.
Oh, absolutely here, Evan. It all comes down to this. The chaos just 1 week ago at Martinsville Speedway sees us swing back over here to Avondale, Arizona, and here we get set to decide it all. 4 drivers, 156 miles and 156 laps to determine a champion here tonight.
And there's so many storylines. Of course, first and foremost, that Andrew Friedrich is looking for a record-smashing 4th consecutive title. He has been the best driver this season, Nolan. More wins than anybody else at the championship, 4 of 8. More poles with 6. More top 5s with 20. More top 10s with 24. He has been the best. But all of that success doesn't mean a lot because, as you can see on the right-hand side of your playoff grid, flat reset. There are no points advantages tonight. It will be determined by the highest finisher, and he's going to be up against some tough competition in the likes of Brandon Bowie, Daniel Epperhart, and Agadol Phillip, who combined have 10 race wins this season. All 3 of those drivers looking for their first career championships.
And it's not going to be an easy run for Friedrich either, right? I mean, he's looking for a 4th championship here tonight. You got Daniel Epperhart and Agadol Phillip, though, as you said, looking for their first. How about a playoff and championship contender? 1, 2, 3 on the qualifying boards right now. Just half a tenth separated first on back through third, where you got Friedrich on pole for now, with Phillip second, Epperhart third. The only driver that's kind of out at the moment is, of course, Brandon Bowie, who sits just on the cusp of the top 10. So it's a bit of a tense situation up in front. Friedrich definitely got his work cut out for him tonight.
And of course, this is a new scan of Phoenix, right? And Friedrich has been able to make these championships happen on multiple tracks, right? He did it twice at Homestead of Miami in this championship 4 format, did it last year at the old scan of Phoenix Raceway, and of course here tonight has to do it on a new scan of the track. We talked about this last week, Nolan, previewing this championship, the fact that even though it's a new track, it's not that different for the version that we had run, right? We moved the start-finish line, that's big, but in terms of the actual surface and how it races, it is very much similar. Of course, that start-finish line going to be on the back straightaway. What was the old track is going to affect how people need to approach this race, but it's not a brand new track, so maybe the learning curve a little bit smaller than it would have been if it was, say, a totally different facility.
And of course, I think one thing that will be important to watch for tonight is how crucial that outside line could be throughout the course of the day. I mentioned that the track doesn't drive, totally similar to how the old one was, but it's not, totally different either. The bottom line can still be the fastest way around, but you can't necessarily run down on the apron like you were able to on that old scan, right? I mean, this new scan, of course, has brought forth the updated pavement runs as well, which will mean it could be a very crucial line for drivers to maybe see if they can fight that outside and maybe even the middle line to try to carry some momentum, particularly out of turn 2.
There's going to be some other storylines we'll follow as this race goes on, Nolan. We talked about this. Did you see that long straightaway there? Normally the rules in this SimSeats Real Sim Racing Cup Series is that you can restart the race when the pace car leaves the racetrack. However, here at Phoenix, that's in turn 2, right? That would give the control car a half a lap right there to restart the race. So for the first time in SimSeats Real Sim Racing Cup Series history, restart procedure has changed for this afternoon. These drivers will be using the Geico restart zone in turn number 4. So a little bit different. Hopefully these drivers got some practice in, because that one's going to be very closely monitored by race control.
And of course, that's a procedure that I'm personally a huge fan of, because it doesn't necessarily look very good, when you find yourself having to launch all the way out from turn 2. A lot of people have been taking advantage of that throughout the official races so far this week, and we'll be able to see what that'll be for us today. And I know I'm not the only one that likes that. A lot of the drivers have expressed a great pleasure to see that restart box being implemented here tonight as well.
That is going to be a big part of tonight's storyline. Of course, we'll have 156 laps to determine a champion and close out this 2021 campaign. With that being said, the qualifying session has drawn to a close. Let's take a look trackside at your SimSeats starting grid. It is 3 of your Championship 4 drivers taking up the top 3 spots, with Andrew Freenosh on pole position. He will bring us to the green flag this afternoon. He will be joined alongside by Agnel Phillip. Daniel Eberhardt starts it out in 3rd, then Sam Nieto alongside in 4th position, Zachary Cars P5, and Jeremy Miller is in 6th.
That leaves Jared Wymerser down in 7th place. Matt Danson found himself eliminated at Martinsville 1 week ago. He'll be in 8th place with Brandon 6th and 9th. Kyle Kamer in 10th place. Playoff driver Brandon Bowie is in 11th place with Sean Casto down to 12th.
He is the lowest of the Championship 4. Mike Lariah, who was in a position to win a championship last year here at Phoenix, not in it this time, starts 13th alongside Cody Harris. Chris Rabel and Kyle Trudell make up row number 8. Nick Silvers, number 3, starts from 17th spot. Ross Cato is 18th.
That was Eric Bride in 19th place. Eric Stanford rounds out the top 20. You got Dane Cruz in 21st, but not to Major down in 22nd place. Brady Whitaker and Matthew Barr 23rd to 24th.
And continuing on down through the field, Parrish, Kalis, Chambers, Morano, Washington, and Jones. That is a look top to bottom at your starting grid. Of course, everybody able to want to race this one out. Should be an exciting afternoon of racing as the pace truck heads off and in. Now, that restart procedure, not going to matter here. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on this afternoon. As always, though, happy that you're spending a Monday night with us here on RaceSpot TV. The field is in the hands of Andrew Freenosh as we look to crown a 10th champion in the history of the RealSimRacing Cup Series. Tonight, from Phoenix Raceway, 4 drivers with a shot at the championship as we say, let's go racing at Phoenix. And lap number 1 led by Freenosh. You can already see at this end of the racetrack, it used to be 3 and 4, Nolan. Now it's 1 and 2. The flatter end of this 1 mile Phoenix Raceway. Drivers were going below that yellow line. You can't really do it down here in 3 and 4 where it's more banked. And Daniel Eberhardt took a couple of looks there at Freenosh off the bat. Wasn't able to make it happen. Of course, you can monitor your Championship 4 drivers looking for the red marks on the cars. They are also highlighted in red. Left-hand side of your screen on the scoring pylon as we see Sam Nieto hold off Jeremy Miller. He got way loose there, trying to make that apron work on the outside of turn 2.
You still see guys trying to go side by side further down the order. How about Brandon Bowie, the furthest down playoff driver, trying to work up the inside of Matt Danson out of turn number 4 and down through the dog leg for the 4th time today. Bowie now going to try to fight the outside line. The 05 Logitech G Altus Esports Chevrolet, though, looking to cover off the keeping it real Toyota Camry, and he'll do so. The Elwood Designs number 34 having a tuck in line just in behind, and Brandon Bowie going to ride aboard them now in a crucial position at the moment. Might find the inside of Dancy to pick up a spot, which would be for 8th place, but he's got a long way to go up to the other playoff drivers up in front.
Danson, one of the other playoff drivers, eliminated and unable to make it to this Championship 4 round, Nolan. Late in these seasons, you tend to see the numbers get pretty small. 30 cars, though, taking the green flag. Pretty big number for a championship race that on a smaller track means that those championship drivers are going to be dealing with traffic. Now, if you're Freenosh, Phillip and Eberhardt 1, 2, 3 as Agnel. Phillip and Eberhardt have been able to switch around for 2nd and 3rd again there. They're not worried about all these other cars, but Somebody who is of course Brandon Bowie. Oh, and he gets into Danson. Danson spins, and a caution on lap number 6. I was just starting to talk about what Bowie would have to deal with here. Of course, knowing that he's racing against everybody else and he gets into the 05, and there's an early yellow involving one of your Championship 4 drivers.
And now this is a point we were talking about before, Evan. Of course, does Bowie claim the responsibility for this caution? If he claims it, he gets sent to the tail end of the field. No harm, no foul. However, if he doesn't claim it and he's on default, that's a 5-point penalty, which where Bowie is at the moment, that effectively eliminates him from the title fight, and he has taken the responsibility forward, so he'll be going to the rear of the field.
That is not what he wants on lap number 6 of the race. Let's watch the replay. It just pushed up the hill. I mean, that is the lesser banked end of the racetrack. Oh, and as we mentioned, Bowie went down to use that dog leg to get the inside positioning on Danson, and he just wasn't able to hold it on the bottom. There was nothing the 05 car could have done. It branded Bowie. We thought that his biggest problem tonight was going to be the fact that he was starting in 11th position. Well, he will get an end of the longest line of penalty and will drop to the rear of a 30-car field on lap number 7. What a turn of events for Brandon Bowie after the night started so promising. 4th fastest in practice, and now he'll find himself at the tail less than 10 laps in.
Doesn't take much for, a controversy, I guess you could say, to be kicked up here at Phoenix, does it? I mean, we've seen this time and time again, guys making contact in very championship critical positions. I mean, you look, though, down to where, of course, Brandon Bowie will be at the moment. He's now all the way down the tail end of the field, and he was already kind of struggling to make up some time early in this race when he was inside the top 10. This could kill his championship. His heels are going to be all the way at the tail end of the field.
Fortunately, none of the playoff drivers, Championship 4 drivers, are in danger of a penalty point infraction. Of course, Bowie claims the caution. He gets an EOL penalty. And then, of course, because of that, he will also get 1 penalty point. If a driver gets 6 penalty points at any given time during the season, they'll be parked for a race. However, since this is the season finale, if you were to get a penalty point infraction at the end of tonight's race, this race finish would not count. No concern, though. Agnew Phillip is the only driver of the Championship 4 with a penalty point. He only has 1, so you figure if he scores 5 penalty points, having this race DQ'd is the least of his concerns, because if he's causing that many incidents, his hopes at the championship are probably long gone. So Bowie drops to the rear. All the drivers except for Matt Danson stay on the lead lap as the 05 is in for service. And now we will test out the new restart procedure. Pace cars soften in, but Andrew Freenosh cannot restart this race until he gets to the Geico restart zone down in turn number 4. So he has to hold 55 miles an hour all the way here through turn 3. And you'll see the Geico restart zone painted on the inside and the outside wall. There's the 2 white stripes. Freenosh accelerates. It is clean. And we're back underway at Phoenix.
And a good launch from Freenosh sees him have the upper hand up towards turn number 1 as the field fans out through the dogleg. Eberhard trying to pick up second. Phillip charging around the outside line, but has to back out to avoid a running up and into the outside wall in turns 1 and 2. Keeps it out of there nicely, though. So Daniel Eberhard going to charge back down to the inside for turn number 3. We got to figure out where this battle's going to lie, though, soon, though, because they do not want Freenosh to break away with the lead if this race goes long.
They do not want him to be able to get away with this one. Last year's championship ended up being decided based on a little bit of strategy. Timely cautions aided Michael Lariah into a fresh set of tires. He looked like he was destined to win the race and win the championship, but another late race yellow came out. Freenosh took the fresh tires. He would go on to make a pass for the race win and the championship with 4 laps left in last year's season finale. But so far, Freenosh good. Eberhard again able to get back and around Agnew Phillip. So second and third has swapped out a couple of times from the start of the race, but his top 3 are playing it safe. And look at all of this just inside of the top 10. Harris trying to fight hard to get underneath Brandon 6, Kyle Kamer, Chris Rabel, and Kyle Trudell all fighting behind them.
You look at Chris Rabel in the 29 Century Communities Ford Mustang. Tried to look down the inside of Cody Harris, but in doing so had to back out because he got pinched in. That causes him now to lose a spot to potentially Kyle Kamer And the SK Motorsports Ford Mustang if Kamer slips a little bit further back down the order here. Rabel not able to get the hammer down out of these corners here, and that's where that outside line is starting to come into play big time here already early on in this race. Rabel still working for it, but especially in 3 and 4, the outside line does end up being where you want to be if you want to go on a defensive line.
You're just able to carry that speed through the corner and able to try to defend off. I mean, look at Rabel. He's able to get the track position into the corner, but off of the corner is where you'll see drivers like the 8 car be a little bit better. Rabel doing a good job, though, of keeping them honest. Turns 1 and 2 are banked at 8 to 9 degrees progressively. 3 and 4 feels a lot more banked. It's only 2 degrees more than it is at that far end of the racetrack, but again, that apron being wide open is awfully enticing as we see Rabel again underneath the 8 car, not giving this one up. Harris underneath 6 up the road. And I mean, I saw guys like David Washington Nolan driving 5 car lengths below that yellow line in practice, just experimenting, right? Just seeing what they could do with these race cars in this, and that's going to be more and more critical as we see later restarts in this race.
You sometimes need to do the experimentation, and it's worth noting that, of course, in these official race sessions here, there is only 30 minutes of practice, so these guys kind of have to do all the experimenting when they're in traffic late on in those 30 minutes when everybody else has already joined up to the session. So it doesn't hurt to kind of go out there and do a little bit more of experimentation. You might think you know where the line is, but oftentimes people will only practice with their own teammates, or they'll practice even by themselves. It doesn't hurt to go out there in the special practice sessions and kind of start from scratch almost, just so you can kind of get an idea of where you're going to be sitting when you run with traffic.
In the battle for the race lead, Freenosh, Eberhardt, Phillip, and Carr, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Zachary Carr ended up for 2016, the highest running of the non-playoff drivers. You go on board with Daniel Eberhardt. Nolan took a look at the numbers before this race. Let's talk career finishes at Phoenix for your championship drivers. Agnell Phillip, 3rd on track at the moment, has only made 1 start in his career here at Phoenix in the RSR Cup Series, and that was the spring race here earlier this year, in which he won. All of our other championship 4 drivers were top 5 finishers. Bowie finished 2nd, Freenosh finished 3rd, and Eberhardt finished 5th. So we expect them all to have speed this afternoon. But you look back to previous seasons. Andrew Freenosh, winner here in 2020, winner here in the 2019 fall race, the 2019 spring race, and the 2018 fall race. So Andrew Freenosh, excluding one off 17th place finish back in the spring of 2018, his finishes at Phoenix, 3rd, 1st, 1st, and 3rd. He is very consistent. And look at Daniel Eberhardt, who he's racing against, right? Daniel's had a couple of mid-pack finishes, but finished 2nd here last year, 5th earlier this year. So it appears on paper that Phoenix is a racetrack that lines up pretty good with how all 4 of our championship 4 drivers race.
I mean, you have to look at the stats, though, and it definitely looks to be advantage Freenosh. But like you said, 4 consecutive race wins in 18, both races in 2019, and then, of course, 1 in 2020. The only race where he was not on the podium was the 2018 spring race, where it was a 17th place finish. And wouldn't have surprised me if he had, of course, had those little issues befall him that typically do. Every racer, of course, has their off days. And then, of course, you look at how it's played out today so far. Fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying so far, has led every lap so far this race. On paper, Andrew Freenosh is the man to beat today.
He is 20 for 20 so far on the laps led, but of course, no bonus points will factor into the championship as you ride on board with Agnell Phillip. There's a look at him on the right-hand side of your screen, driving for A51 Pro. 2-time race winner this year, Agnell Phillip, in his 2nd season of SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series competition. In his 42nd career start, Nolan, he's got 24 top 10s before tonight, so that's almost a 50% success race. It's over that, in fact, for top 10s, nearly 50% for top 5, 16 of 41 coming into this evening. So he has been one of the best new drivers onto the scene here in his 2nd season of this championship. A little bit further on down the road, Sean Casto, somebody that a lot of people thought was going to be in this championship, not able to make it through. And how about Nick Silver was in to the championship 4 with less than 10 laps to go at Martinsville. He does not advance. He's mid-pack right now in 15th.
And despite not being able to make his way up into the championship, and of course being in 15th place right now, it still cannot be understated how good of a driver Nick Silva really is. I mean, you take a look at some accomplishments he has had earlier on throughout his real sim racing career. Man, look at the IROC series here in 2021. Of course, locking out that championship in the final race. So he is a champion on a slower down series, throughout this season so far. Wasn't quite ever in contention to get the championship in this season, but I believe when we switch over to the next-gen cars next year, who knows? He could find himself right up there in the title hunt.
Yeah, we don't really know what to expect with the next-gen cars, so this is the last season of this generation of Cup Series car. Of course, we mentioned this is the 10th season of SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series competition, one of, if not the longest running consecutive championship here on iRacing. And you look back to only that first season back in 2012 and Landon Huffman won the championship. We were driving anything other than a NASCAR Gen 6 car, right? That was back with the COTs. Since then, we've seen Chad Cole, Eric Brundys, Dwayne Vincent, Scott Eckrich, David Comstock, and of course, most recently, the domination by Andrew Freenosh. Those have been the champions in this Gen 6 era of RSR racing. Looking at that 15 Machine McBride squeezing Rabel up a little bit there to the outside wall. They'll both use that apron down into turn number 2. This Phoenix race was all in such a fun, racy track. This could be also one of the last times we ever say we're racing with a 750 horsepower package in a Cup Series car. And the 19 of Stanford used every one of those horses to drive to the inside of Rabel here and try to challenge him for position 16.
And we'll pick up that position on Chris Rabel to pick up 16th place. Looking around Rhett McBride for 15th. You had seen that he had tried to look up the inside a couple of laps ago to go 3 wide down the bottom, but there just wasn't any room for him to make the pass. How about Brandon Bowie throwing his half back into the ring? Bowie's been quietly working his way up back through the order here. The last guy in championship contention on the track and the only one not up in the top 5 as well. Of course, caused that earlier incident with Matt Danson, and he is now finding himself down in 17th place. Still trying to work his way up as Stanford will complete the pass. It looks like things here in turn 1, maybe on Rhett McBride. McBride can't pull something out. Bowie still looking for the inside, though. He is going to be looking a little bit more antsy. He can't afford to waste time with these midfield battles. If he's going to contend for a championship, he's got to get up there and quick, because this looks like it might be one of the longer green flag tracks we'll be seeing so far this season.
And Brandon DeBuy created to keep it real in January of this year to be able to compete for a championship here in this series. Nolan has been one of the best drivers of the year. He comes into this evening with some pretty impressive stats. 4 race wins, 13 top 5s, 18 top 10s. That is ranked second in all categories, behind only, of course, Freenosh. And another historical marker we should note, that Brandon DeBuy tonight in his 100th career SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series start. So congratulations to him on that. But this night has not gone the way he wanted to. Took that AUL penalty. Is it a good job of driving him up to 17th, Nolan? But he already has a claimed caution, right? And that's a big thing to note, because he got it into the longest line of penalty. Again, the big thing is none of these drivers want an unclaimed yellow, because that comes with a 5-point penalty. And I mentioned that bonus points can't determine a championship. It's going on race points, right? Which means, in plain terms, highest finisher wins the championship. However, if you cause an unclaimed caution, you get a 5-point penalty that is deducted off of your race points. So in theory, you could be the highest finisher at the championship for, but have a penalty for causing an incident and not win it. So A, he can't have any unclaimed, Nolan, but if he claims another incident tonight, number 2 would be a 1-lap black flag. So he really needs to be careful as he works through the field and hope that these drivers give him a little bit of room and courtesy.
And so far, that has been the case. You saw him complete the pass with Eric Stanford for what was 16th place. That was on the back straight. We got the run around the outside line. Stanford gave room to complete it. Rhett McBride moving up a little bit. Thought he might have let him through a little bit for 15th place. That ends up not being the case. Rhett McBride cut back down to kind of stall Brandon Bowie's run for the inside line. So Bowie looking to do battle with the number 15 car to pick up 15th place. He will do so across the start-finish line through the dog leg for the 34th time today. Comes up, clear of Rhett McBride. He'll be able to start to pull his way back up and see if he can maybe run down his Keeping It Real teammate. I believe it is up the road of Sean Casto, who I imagine will be one to let Brandon Bowie through. Potential team orders could play to a factor here.
Yeah, some of these drivers do have teammates in the field. You could be assured, I think, that they're going to take it a little bit easier on each other and, you know, try to keep it within the rules, but try to help out your teammate as much as you can. With that pass, Bowie is back to 15th position. That's good. Problem is, he's 9 seconds off of the race leaders the time it took him to make those passes. Eric Stanford underneath the 15 of Rhett McBride. He will pass him for the number 16 spot and drive on through. Of course, those intervals and the gaps between each position is what you're seeing on the left-hand side of your screen, and you can see now that Friedrich is 1.2 seconds ahead of Eberhard. Eberhard about 0.3 seconds ahead of Phillip. So Agnell Phillip was the first to slide back of those championship three. You know, Eberhard and Friedrich pulled away, but it looks like on the long run, Eberhard slowly coming into the clutches of Agnell Phillip. And listen, Olin, on any given week, Andrew Friedrich puts a ton of practice in. I mean, you're talking about a guy who made it, you know, so close to the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualified iRacing series. Daniel Eberhard successfully doing so. Agnell Phillip was in a lot of those Road to Pro races. These guys put a lot of practice in. And something we've been talking about as we pick that battle up between the 3 car of Silver and the 8 of Kamer is that, you know, Friedrich was locked into this championship back on October 18th, right, when he won at Texas. Now, about a week after that, we learned that this new Phoenix scan was coming, but while everybody else was practicing for Kansas and for Martinsville, right, needing to do good there to get to this point, Andrew already knew that those races really didn't matter. So I can only imagine how many laps Andrew Friedrich has done on this Phoenix Raceway. And just given his track record, I mean, it is going to take a lot for anybody to top the 88 car tonight, I have to feel.
Yeah, 1.3 seconds back to Daniel Eberhard. And by the way, that is about the highest gap between 2 positions out of anybody in the entire field so far. And it's between 2 championship contenders. It just extended to 1.4 there, you saw, for all of a split second, which goes to show just how, you know, fast of a driver Friedrich is around this place. And he's been managing to work that one to perfection so far with his line. So he's in a good position to potentially take away a 4th consecutive championship here tonight. Want to give an update on some of the guys down the order as well. Dane Cruz and Tom Moreto are 2 drivers that have, well, it seems Evan opted to kind of call it quits here early on. They parked at about 3 and 5 laps respectively. And interestingly enough, Matt Danson's still sitting in the pit lane as well from his initial incidents. So you have to wonder if maybe a few guys just realizing what's up for stake here and realize that they don't really have a stake in it themselves and opted not to get in the way.
I think Danson probably figured, you know, he's unable to compete full-time in the Winter Series, was probably just looking to try to fight for a race win here tonight, and after being involved in the incident, figured I don't really have much to gain by driving around, you know, in the 20s with a damaged race car. So that gives us the updated number of 27 cars on the lead lap. Every time I blink at Olin, Chris Rabel is fighting somebody. This time he is under fire. The 20 car of Dylan Jones underneath him in turns 1 and 2. The 20 car takes a spot away. That is plus 12 for Dylan Jones. Of course, as always, opted not to take a time in queue. He likes going through the field, and the 20 car is the biggest mover to this point.
Should put in the hard charge reward, honestly. Driver that can go, you know, from gain the most spots from where they started today. I feel like that'd be an easy couple of bonus points that Dylan Jones will be able to gain consistently, because he has shown he easily can have a top 10 car if he chooses to put the work in. And I honestly have to wonder sometimes where he would be if he opted to go for a qualifying lap.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, if you see Dylan Jones involved in a championship, right? If he could put together a full calendar and have a real look to fight for something in the playoffs, I'm sure that Dylan Jones could be one of the top qualifiers in this series. Of course, unable to do so in this 2020 campaign. But, I mean, you look at what he's done on a limited schedule, right? He's only started 19 races this year, but he's got a top 5. He's got 3 top 10s, right? I mean, there's speed in that car. I have to feel like if he was able to put a full calendar together, Dylan Jones would be able to do some impressive things. There's David Washington, the brake machine on the right-hand side. But how about to pit road? Here comes Daniel Eberhard, just 44 laps into this Sim Seats Championship. A huge strategy call for Eberhard to come down in early, clearly wanting to make this a two-stop race. Rookie lap number 45 of 156, but it seems early, and maybe he just didn't like the way that this race was trending. He's into the pit lane, expecting it to be 4 tires and a fuel.
I have a feeling he's hoping that maybe he can make up some of the time he's going to be losing on that second pit stop with some consistently fresher tires. We'll have to see how this is going to play out for him. Very neatly into his box, doesn't overshoot us, so that's a good stretch for him. Eberhard will be out on his 2 tires. We'll see how that plays out for him. Here's a battle that you've just been developing. Was on the right-hand side of the screen, now center stage. This is for 20th place between Shane Parrish and David Washington. Looking to tango for spots just on the cusp of the bottom portions of this field. They've been side by side now, Evan, for about 3 total laps, from when they started to go side by side. Shane Parrish not wanting to give up the attack around the outside line, and David Washington has not been willing to yield.
Well, David Washington is a guy who has been around for a long time in this series and is not going to be somebody who has rolled over. But I'll tell you what, Nolan, Daniel Eberhard is still stationary in the box. What has gone wrong for the 90 team? He is just now leaving the box. You have to think that it was some sort of external issue. 54.6 seconds in the box, a minute and 26 seconds on pit road, and just like that, Daniel Eberhard is 2 laps down.
And I know exactly why. Not an external issue, a penalty, Evan. 57 miles an hour on pit entry. Pit road speed limit, 45. Bop speed for 12 miles an hour. That was a 30-second stop and hold for Eberhard.
So it is a self-inflicted error that may yet again prevent Daniel Eberhard from fighting for an RSR Cup Series champion. You look back to some of his best career finishes in this series. Part-time schedules at a 15 and 19 aside, he's finished 6th in 2016, 7th in 2017, and then in the Championship 4 era, 3rd in 2018, Nolan, and 2nd as a runner-up last year. Felt like this could have finally been his opportunity, but he is currently stuck 2 laps down, and he is not even the lucky dog, which is a huge blow because Matthew Mara has been lapped by the race leaders. Number 23 Toyota is 1 lap down. So Nolan, even if we get a yellow, Mara gets the free pass, and Daniel Eberhard's going to have to stay around for wave rounds. This is a huge blow, and it's likely taken him completely out of contention for this championship.
Worse, yeah, Matthew Mara came down and pitted as well, so Daniel Eberhard won't even be able to use his fresh tires advantage to see if he can pass up Matthew Mara to take that lucky dog spot. That's a rookie mistake, and a very rare one at that from Daniel Eberhard. I mean, it's a relatively simple pit road to get it down. I have a feeling he was just too overzealous on the pit entry, trying to gain any kind of time he could. Sometimes, though, you have to wonder, is the risk worth it? And I think the answer to that one was absolutely not. Not when you're so close. You can't afford to make those types of errors. So he now finds himself 2 laps down. The way it sits right now, he would need about, actually, as Matthew Mara goes a 2nd lap down, he would need 4 total cautions to get himself back onto the lead lap. This could be a championship killer for Eberhard.
It's so heartbreaking to know how much Daniel puts into this series. He is the most veteran of our Championship 4 drivers. Brandon Bowie in his 3rd season, Agno Phillip in just his 2nd, Andrew Friedrich in his 5th, and Daniel Eberhard competing for the RSR Cup Series Championship for a 7th time this season. So he's been around for 7 of the 10 years all time in this SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series. As all of that championship drama has been unfolding, we've been watching a battle for 5th position. Jaron Weinmaster, Michael Araya, Brandon Six, all drivers in the green from where they started, marching their way into the top running order. But if you look top right of your screen, that is the current order for the playoffs. Friedrich, 1st of the Championship 4. Phillip is currently 2nd best, Bowie 3rd best, and Eberhard 4th best at the very bottom as he runs, again, multiple laps down right now, being scored in position number 27. And here comes Weinmaster trying to hold off at the outside. Lariah pressing, going to use the dog leg, and they'll go side by side to turn 1.
And here comes Lariah trying to keep Wymaster behind him, but Wymaster diamonding off that corner, entering high, exiting low, knocks off the run from Michael Lariah and almost cleared down to turn 3, but Lariah stuck the nose back in, but sideways with the 44 car out of turn number 4, and the Sim Speed Shop number 44 Chevrolet going to force to tuck back in line behind the car Racing Designs 48. I tell you what, though, it's an interesting line for Jared Wymaster, isn't it? He keeps opening up the door for Michael Lariah down to the bottom side, but he's able to get such a much of a better run out of his corners. That's why he's consistently doing it, because he can slowly start to build a gap.
Hey, that's the key. And listen, we talk about patience and how these races are going to be able to run themselves out. It is November, and as always, we use realistic weather and time of day settings for these races, but I can attest, Nolan, having cooked in the grandstands at Phoenix yesterday, it's still hot, even in November. Now in the sim, we're only working 75 degrees Fahrenheit, track temp 89. That's not scorching. It's less than it was for our spring race, but that is still pretty warm, all things considered. So you are going to have a hot, slick racetrack. Those tires are going to degrade quite a bit faster than they would if things were cool. We're looking at about a second and a half of fall off across the board throughout the field. Kalis diving to pit road, so he'll come in from the tail end of the lead lap. But aside from Eberhard, Nolan seemingly trying to, win this on strategy before he got what we think is a speeding penalty that ruined his stop. He pitted at about lap 45 or so, right? 156 lap race on the short end of a two-stopper. Nobody else has made any indications that they've been thinking about pit road. Could we stretch this and just one stop it?
I think that's what some guys like Andrew Freenosh are going to try to do. I mean, Freenosh has been doing a good job, though, on extending this gap. Hasn't necessarily been saving fuel so far. And honestly, I wouldn't expect him to, right? Because unless you come into this race with a very clear picture of what you want to do, the most common strategy up and down for any racing driver is to just push it as long as you can go on the first fuel tank and kind of just figure yourself out from there. Now, at that point, you have a good baseline of what you can do, and you can alter the strategy as you so choose from there. And of course, I think the tires are going to play a bit more into a factor of how this race could play out. We've already seen Eberhard work his way past the battle we're watching now. I know Matthew Mara has unlapped himself once, put himself now just 1 down, with Eberhard now still being 2. It's worth noting, of course, that every driver that comes down pit road only knocks Eberhard even further out of playoff contention, because at this point, Sean Kalis is 2 laps down now from that pit stop window, so he'd be due battle with Eberhard for the lucky dog spot. That pass was made just a little while ago. Kyle Trudell also 1 down, so if that's another case now where a driver gets a lucky dog, and that's 1 more caution now that Eberhard would have to wait for.
He is now the 3rd driver a lap down. He's ahead of Kalis, but he is behind still Matthew Mara, and now as well Kyle Trudell. Trudell was at about 8 laps ago for service, so it is not a good situation for Daniel Eberhard. On pace, he should be the fastest of those lap down cars, but again, they're a lap down because they spent 46 seconds on pit road for a scheduled stop. He's there because he spent, a minute 30 almost on pit road, because what we think is a penalty. That's, 35, 40 seconds of difference that he needs to make up, and that's not going to happen in the blink of an eye. And by the time he's able to make up that time on them, as you mentioned, more drivers are going to pit. There are only going to be faster and more lap down cars in the way of him trying to get a wave around. We talk about all this, Nolan, but if the race stays green, it doesn't really matter, right, what position he is. The field is spreading out a good bit, and this thing could have a green flag feel to it.
You talk about how much the field is spreading out. I mean, the moment Andrew Freenosh just crossed our finish, the car that he would be next to lap is just coming out of turn 2 now, and right about now, Freenosh is also exiting turn 2. So they are stretched all the way around this racetrack. Everywhere you look, you can have a car and pass it by you at some point. So that's what is going to be crucial to how this race plays out as well. Is we haven't really seen this whole lot this season, have we? I mean, the dynamic of what happens when cars that have already pitted are catch up to some of the guys on fresher tires, or older tires, I should say. Especially if you got guys mingling 2 stops with 1 stop on them. That'll be something big to consider if Eberhard comes on down and this race does continue to go green. But you can definitely tell at the moment, if the caution comes out, every single driver out there would be coming back down again, I'd imagine.
Oh, absolutely. These drivers, as always, for all oval races in this SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series, are given 4 additional sets of tires. You add that with the set that most of the drivers are still using, the ones they started this race with. And, you know, you're looking at 5 total sets of tires to work for a 156-lap race. So tons of time to be able to use those up over the course of this one. I mean, we talk about last, Nolan, right? Last race with these Gen 6 cars. I'm not going to say last race with the numbers in the middle of the doors, because something tells me some of these sim guys might not be so willing to move them at the start of the year. So we'll probably see some next-gen cars with centered up door numbers. But you know, we talk about pit stops. Pit stop times may likely change a little bit when we go to the next-gen cars, going from the 5 lugs to the 1.
It'll shorten up pit stops, that's for sure, which could mean pit stops become that much more important, because at this point in time, you get to any track really that's under 2 miles, you go down the pit road, you're essentially counting yourself to be a lap down, but you take away 5 luggers and put on 1, that could easily shave off. We're talking at this point probably possibly 5-6 seconds on pit road. That could be the difference, and it could in fact turn out to be fights that would see you just trying to stay on the lead lap instead of guaranteeing to be a lap down, try not to go down 2. Unless, of course, you know, the short tracks obviously will be short tracks. You come down there in the green, expect to go at least 4 or 5 down until the rest of the field cycle goes through.
One thing I'm noticing just looking at intervals is that the last couple of laps, Agnell Phillip has been faster than race leader Andrew Friedrich. Now, it has not been by a ton. That gap at one point grew to almost 3.1 seconds. You can see it's down to 2.4, 2.5 range as they run now. Looks like Friedrich got much better of a run through the corner that time, and then the gap's going to close again once Agnell gets into the braking zone into the corner. So I'm not saying that Agnell Phillip's going to be able to chase down Friedrich. However, long run, the 94 car looking a little bit better at the moment, just to keep tabs, that's all. You can also see that Brandon DeBuey's been able to drive himself back up to position number 12. We've been kind of watching the mid-pack where he's been working, so he's doing his best to work with what he's got. But, I mean, you can clearly see the gap between Friedrich and Phillip, still a big gap. Interval-wise, though, just something to keep an eye on as we get close to halfway through this SimSeats Championship.
You mentioned that Agnell Phillip was a little bit faster than Friedrich the last time by. Taking a look at those lap times, of course, Friedrich running very low, 28s, 28.03s, 05s, kind of around there. Phillip, though, still in the high 27s, so definitely something to keep an eye on indeed. Gaining by, if I had to kind of average this one out here, I'd say about maybe 800ths or so per lap. Not a huge amount, but we've seen that those little gaps, they can make the difference. The gap closed in to about 2.3 that last time by. We're extending back out to 2.5. If I'm Agnell Phillip at this point, we're closing in on halfway, right? I mean, we're on lap 72, 84 laps remaining. I would say try to go for the undercut, because you can gain a significant amount of time. I mean, at the start of this race, they were hitting 26-second times, kind of mid-high 26s. He could easily find himself a couple, probably a second or more faster than Andrew Friedrich, which could be a championship decided move if he tries to execute that undercut and does it right.
Yeah, it might be his only option. The fact that he's a little bit quicker, he's going to have to do the math, right? He's closing up now. Problem is, when they get to the fresh tires, Andrew, likely the better short-run car, would start to open things up again. So Agnell's going to have to decide, does he want to go for the undercut to try to offset a little bit of that short-run speed by having fresh tires? But, of course, he would have slower runs towards the end of the run, but he's quicker then. So, is that a decision that he's going to opt to make? And, right now, we're working lap number 74. This time by, there's going to be 82 laps to go, Nolan. So we are about 3 to 4 laps away, depending on which lap you want to call it, 3 to 4 laps away from the halfway point. In theory, you pit right at halfway, right? The math is simple. But that's not always the case. So we'll see. Does Agnell undercut? Does Andrew undercut to kind of take that option away for the 94, right? Who's going to be the first of those championship guys to pull the trigger? And then you got guys like Carr, Nieto, Windmaster inside of the top 5. They're all about 5 seconds off of the race leader minimum. So, they're not really in the mix necessarily. But if, all those guys start pitting and these race leaders are kind of only focused on each other, maybe somebody else could get into this picture.
So far, every single driver seems to be wanting to go for the one-stop strategy, save for the 4 or so guys that pitted about 15 to 22 laps ago. It's only four guys, though, right, that have decided to take the two-stop strategy. Guys like Danny Leverhard, they're all laps down at the moment. Everybody on the lead lap, the top 23, hasn't yet come down to pit road, with the exception of Ross Cato, although he came down to kind of get tires under the latest stop. And how about that? Agnell Phillip going for the undercut. And this could be a championship-defining move here, Evan. Agnell Phillip, the first driver to blink and come down to pit road, going for the undercut. Freenosh has got to respond.
Yeah, Agnell Phillip, I talk about a 1.5 seconds of fall off per lap. That means if Freenosh responds immediately, it would only be about a 1.5 seconds loss. But Andrew Freenosh has not come to pit road. So Freenosh is still on track. And now the key for Agnell Phillip is going to be to have a clean bit of pit service. Phillip way down in some 23rd position now as he is able to get left sides on as well. Phillip is off, so Phillip's done, and Freenosh says over the radio, pitting in. Here comes Freenosh at lap number 78. So he responds. Oh, man, he locked up the tires coming to that pit lane cone of 45 miles an hour. He is in, and now we'll keep an eye to see where these drivers will blend out. Freenosh is on the left-hand side of your screen, and then we'll see when he blends up. Where does Agnell Phillip end up? Phillip right now in the horseshoe, driving right around Freenosh. So he's got a whole lap to get around before the 88 car gets off pit road.
But remember, 15-second pit stop times relatively here. And it's a 22-second lap, and he had all that time. He had to come down pit road, finish a couple of time on exit still. So where is Agnell Phillip? That's going to be the big-ticket question. You can see, watch for Phillip as Freenosh is up and on to the jacks. Phillip coming through 3 and 4. Agnell Phillip's going to take the race away, potentially coming across start finish. But Freenosh is clear of pit road. Here comes Phillip. Drag race out to the dog leg. But Phillip takes the net race lead. That lap was enough.
Agnell Phillip with a 1-lap difference on the pit strategy. 2 laps, I should say. 2-lap difference by Agnell Phillip, Nolan. The math is simple. 1.5 seconds per lap. It averages out to probably 3 seconds gained immediately. The gap was 2.5. That's exactly how it works out. So Agnell Phillip in 13th has taken the lead in the battle for the championship. Now, Andrew Freenosh, who was better than Agnell, Nolan, to the 2 to 4 seconds on the early run, right? That's how far he was able to pull away. He got to nearly 4 seconds into the race lead early in that first run before Agnell started to close it in. Andrew's got 2-lap better tires and, in theory, the better short-run car. So the 94 has got his work cut out for him right now.
I imagine Phil is going to be wanting to defend as hard as he can. Right on board, Freenosh ripping the Larson line, taking the outside line, then diamonding down towards the apron of turn 2. Keeps it off of that outside wall, though. This is good stuff. If mentioned Freenosh wants to run down Agnell Phillip. Bad news for Phillip. Catching lap traffic. Possibly the worst possible situation, because that is the technical race lead on track at the moment. So Phillip has to struggle to unlap himself and has to hope that the lap traffic holds up Freenosh behind. Not going to be the case, though. Phillip had to take the long way to turn 1. Freenosh took the best line, and just like that, that gap and the advantage of the undercut is gone. We'll have to see what Freenosh can do on the offense. So far, we've seen what we can do on defense. Can Phillip potentially manage to hang on with a better defensive game, though?
A lot of traffic up the road as well. He's going to go to the inside of the 7 car of Kyle Trudell. When he was unlapping himself, or I should say when Phillip was rounding through the lap while Freenosh was on pit road, he had a lot of traffic to deal with. A lot of them did a really good job of getting out of the way. But look at this scenario. Phillip and Freenosh are about to lap fellow Championship 4 competitor Eberhardt. They'll go to the inside, but Braden Whitaker's there. He is holding up both the 94 and the 88 car. Freenosh has got the run. He'll go to the inside, all the way to the apron, down the dog leg. Freenosh to the inside, side by side for 3rd in the race, and for the lead in the championship, Phillip fights back off 2.
Freinash got checked up a bit by Whitaker that time around. It's still holding the inside line. Brandon Whitaker not wanting to let your championship contenders through. Still a dead heat out to the start-finish line this time around. Phillip trying to do whatever he can to hang on to some kind of ground. Realizes how important it is to keep Freinash behind you, make him burn his stuff up, fighting you so that you can have a bit of a cleaner run. Phillip has got the long run car, was starting to run him down later on in that run before the pit stops took hold. And Freinash, if he doesn't get clear soon here, he might be finding some burns of all his stuff, and Phillip will be on the attack for sure towards the end of the race.
He is digging really hard on the outside. Agnew Phillip, I think, hedging his bets that he needs to be aggressive now and maybe giving up a little bit of the late run speed that he had last lap. But this time in two, Andrew Freinash can see some daylight. Phillip still with the nose. He'll get it back alongside now as they go into 3 and 4. Absolutely spectacular stuff, door to door for the championship. They both use the dog leg, trying to shortcut that entry into turn number 1. Oh, Freinash gets tight, almost into the door of the 94 car. Neither of these drivers willing to give up.
Side by side for 4 laps in a row, and there's no sign that this is going to back down just yet. Make it lap number 5 consecutive, and Phillip still holding the outside line. This is the defensive game I talked about, Evan, that Agnew needs to put up. We saw how Freinash was on defense. Now he's got to be on the offense, though. Pushes wide, forces Phillip up into the marbles, but that just gives Phillip the run back down the back straightaway.
Andrew Freinash is not a driver known to squeeze people, but you can see it there, Nolan. He has been pushy to Phillip high in 1 and 2, and the 94 misses, turns 3 and 4. Finally a mistake, and Andrew Freinash goes back to the championship lead. He has cleared the 94. Agnew Phillip looking to the inside in 1 and 2 now. He knows the 88 was willing to squeeze him. The 94 bobbles, though, and Freinash is going to get away
for the time being. But remember how good Agnew Phillip was in the late run. The potential is still there. Phillip's got to kind of settle down, though. You see already trying to push really hard, trying to close that gap back down. Agnew Phillip's got to take a deep breath here. Relax. There's still a lot of race left to go. You will have the time to go at him again, but you need to kind of settle down, let those tires cool, and go at him another time. Freinash is still digging really hard, trying to build that gap, and understandably so. We talked about getting that gap to about 4 seconds before the first pit stop window came around. But look at how hard Phillip was willing to defend for it, showing that on these longer green flag runs, the advantage might be for Phillip if this race could go green later on in the race.
And I just have to worry with how aggressive he was on the outside. Is Phillip going to have that same extra bite late in the run that he had late in the earlier green flag run in this race? We have just, by the way, cycled through and completed our pit cycle. Guys like Ross Cato, Dylan Jones just have it recently finally come down and in for service. So other drivers were able to get some laps led there. Cato led 5, Nick Silver led 1, Zach Carr led a lap as well. All 80 other laps have been led by Andrew Freinash to this point. So there was a battle for the race lead through the cycle, but of course this battle for the championship was the priority. Bowie continues to gain, Nolan. He is up to the number 8 position, so Bowie has been on the move. Brandon Bowie's last lap time, a 27.366. That would be faster than both lap times put down by Freinash and Phillip last time around. Now, of course, Freinash and Phillip were very aggressively fighting for the opening dozen laps on these tires, but I think that goes to show if there's any yellow that groups up the field, Brandon Bowie has pace to be in the conversation. Well, now that we are past the halfway point in tonight's SimSeats Championship, let's take a look top to bottom at your current Midway leaderboard. Andrew Freinash is leading the race right now. He is currently 0.6 of a second ahead of the 94 car of Agnew Phillip. Zach Carr in 3rd, ahead of Kyle Trudell 4th, and Michael Laraya in the number 4 position. Trudell slides down to 5th. Nieto is behind them in the number 6 spot. Jaron Weinmaster, a quiet afternoon, is 7th. Brandon DeBuey, as noted, up to position number 8. Brandon 6, exactly where he started 9th. And Jeremy Miller rounds out our top 10, Nolan.
And that gives it to Eric Stanford down in 11th place, with Cody Harris all the way back in 12th. Sean Casto in 13th. Kyle Kamer started up in 14th place. He finds himself now in 14th. I'm starting 10th. Brett McBride is in 15th place. Chris Rabel down to 17th. David Washington started tail at the end of the field. Didn't set a qualifying lap. He started 29th. He is up to 17th, and the last car on the lead lap. And there you got Braden Whitaker, Nick Silver, and Shane Parrish to round up the top 20, Evan.
And in 21st position is Matt Mara, 22nd Brian Chambliss, and stuck in 23rd is still championship hopeful Daniel Eberhardt. He is ahead of Ross Cato for the moment, not anymore. Cato's going to get around him for 23rd, so give Eberhardt 24th, Benazzi Majors 25th. Kalis into the outside wall, not a caution flag concern, just grazed it at the start-finish line. He's 26th. Dylan Jones, 7 laps down out of the race, 28th. DNFs to Tom Moreno, 28th. Dane Cruz, 29th. And Matt Danson in 30th. That's a look top to bottom at your sim seats. Midway Race Break. Since 2009, sim seats has been designing and fabricating high-quality, made-in-the-USA driving simulators, including motion systems, complete turnkey iRacing packages, and custom fabrication. Their customer base includes all racers from the amateur to the pro ranks, and everyone on the SimSeats team is a weekend racer too. Their passion for racing drives them to build better sim racing equipment. Join SimSeats for the thrill of racing at any time, in any car, and on any track by visiting sim-seats.com to learn more information. Just watched Cody Harris with a nice pass there on Eric Stanford. That battle for 11th and 12th position as we get a little bit of cloud cover here, Nolan, at Phoenix, as the race leader, Andrew Friedrich, now working lap number 100.
And so far, the only yellow flag we've seen so far today was that one between Matt Danson and Chris Rabel very early on in this race. And said it has been caution-free, which is obviously what you want to see here, because it allows for us to kind of have these strategies play on out. You mentioned, of course, Daniel Eberhardt only 1 lap down now. Of course, unfortunately not set to stay that way, right? I mean, he is on that 2-stop strategy, came all the way in on lap number 44, and he is still looking to potentially come on down for his 2nd stop on the day. So he is still yet to lose a lap, potentially too. How about that, though, for a moment, with Jared Weinmaster making up 1 on Kyle Trudell, and Brandon 6 looked to follow through for 7th.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking so much about the championship, but this mid-pack has been great this afternoon. Windmaster, Trudell, 6, and Bowie all within 0.3 of a second of each other the last time by the stripe. Bowie on the bottom of the number 7 car, a Trudell at the moment, after 6 was able to pass the 7 the last time by, and Bowie's going to have a nose at the stripe. He'll go way to the inside and cut the dogleg. He is really trying to clear for this number 8 spot. He gets it back. Meanwhile, 6 up the road. He looks underneath the 48 of Jaron Weinmaster, trying to make that one stick off of turn 2.
Didn't quite get the speed he needed off of turn 2. Thinks about it for 3, but not quite there. And they are now caught up to Daniel Eberhardt, who is on now the older tires. First driver to blink for the 2-stop strategy was Nicholas Morrow, who is currently down in the pit road. And Eberhardt going to be losing more time to lead a lap traffic here. Brandon Sick pushing wide, looking to carry a run, but Eberhardt going to cut him off. And this could be bad news for Brandon 6 and if Jaron Weinmaster as Eberhardt fights back. 6, can he take advantage? Thinking about a send, but not quite close enough to stick the nose with that, keeping a real Chevrolet up the inside.
Yeah, you would tend to think, well, the lap guys should get out of the way, right? But of course, Eberhardt's the championship driver. Those guys aren't. So he is not going to be inclined at all to give any extra courtesy to those drivers. And in fact, he's probably telling them to give me some space. And of course, we know that Eberhardt is working at an uphill climb based on how the start of this race has gone, but he cannot afford to give up until the very last lap of the race. He needs to keep the pressure on for every little bit of track positioning, because who knows what bit of positioning could make the difference later on if he gets an opportunity to try to get back onto the lead lap in this race. But Weinmaster holding off 6 again. Brandon 6 driving the 66 Chevrolet underneath. Circle B diecast on board that Camaro ZL11LE, but We talked about the outside defensive line earlier in this race, Nolan, and Winemaster's been playing that lane to perfection so far.
He certainly has, man. Brandon Six has been working his way through the inside line big time. I mean, we haven't seen it play too much of a factor in how these races have played out. And all things considered, he is doing a great job so far. How about another launch for Brandon Six on the inside of the car race designs 48. Don't make contact. Almost rubbing out of turn number 2. Brandon Six going to barge his way past. Clean pass, though, all things considered there, Evan. No contact made. Winemaster, I think, cut a bit of a break.
Well, one thing I've noticed, a lot of the battles in 3 and 4, including that battle between Phillip and Freenosh, Andrew was the bottom car, but he was, 2.5 lanes up, right? I mean, he was really working over Agnew Phillip, and Agnew Phillip gave him the room. These guys, the car on the bottom is being pinched to the inside, so maybe a little bit less inclined to play as nice. And when you force that guy down, Nolan, when you pinch him down, I mean, you're hedging your bets that if he makes a mistake, the guy on the outside is going to be the one that gets taken out. But if you have enough faith in the guy underneath you to hold it, then it's going to be harder for him to get back into the gas with such a tight radius off the corners. So just a lot of trust in this battle, and certainly such exciting stuff that we're looking at right now.
You still see Jaron Winemaster looking to potentially close up that gap to Brandon Six, but so far it is just nothing doing. You've got Brandon Bowie kind of waiting around the wings, but he's also under fire from Jeremy Miller deeper down the field, so it looks like Bowie has somewhat stalled out. There's no way he's going to get close enough at this point to, take a second place in points away from Phillip, or even a championship for Freenosh at this rate. I mean, Bowie desperately needs a caution flag, but the way this race has been developing, he's going to be hard-pressed for one.
Yeah, I just think the nature of this race is that of a green flag run. You can see Jeremy Miller is going to, give some courtesy to the 34 team, but he's not going to roll over. I think Miller may be the faster of these two cars, and that means that I think it's a matter of time before he tries to put the move on the 34 machine of Bowie, and here he is looking to the inside into... just trying to make it work, and Bowie's going to give him the space to work with. Now, Bowie can take the Jaron Winemaster line, if you will, right? He can ride the top side, play it safe, and try to defend that position, but I don't think Jeremy Miller is the guy who's going to give up. Miller, one of those persistent drivers in the series.
We've seen that be present so far all throughout the year, and he is going to continue to fight the inside line. And without Brandon Bowie pinching him down, there's nothing to stop Jimmy Miller from, kind of coming on up and taking the inside line away, right? And that's what allows him to move on up past Brandon Bowie up into turn number 3 this time by. He'll pick up 8th place. But that's the thing about why these guys want to pinch them down. While the outside line can carry a much better run, you also want to make sure that the inside doesn't have a run either, which is why it's such a popular strategy to just pinch the guy down, because at that point, they can't get on the throttle pedal, and it'll be advantage to you anyway, because you control when the run comes along.
Yeah, that's up to you. And, he gets passed by Miller there. There's a bit of a buffer, but, Trudell's lurking. So maybe Brandon Bowie was really pushing to try to get something early in this run. He was one of the very first cars to pit. He pitted on the same lap that Andrew Freenosh did, Nolan. We didn't really see it because we were focused on where was Phillip, where it was Andrew, but Bowie pitted when Andrew did, and it was really the Championship 4 guys were some of the first top runners in the field to come in. So one other thing that could explain why he's sliding a little bit at the late end of this run is the fact that, well, he's been out there longer than all of the other drivers around him, so his tires obviously going to be significantly more worn than the drivers that he's currently racing against for position.
We talked about how earlier on in the run, Freenosh had built up about a 2.4 to a 3-second gap over Agnew Phillip. That gap already up to 2.2 seconds now. I have a feeling that Agnew Phillip just burned up all the stuff trying to keep Andrew Freenosh behind him, and we still have a long way to go, right? I mean, we're coming up on about 41 laps to go, if my quick maths are correct on that one. So it's kind of all falling apart for Agnew Phillip. It's all falling into the hands of Andrew Freenosh, though, and wouldn't that be something? Because I believe 4 consecutive championships are definitely a first for the Real Sim Racing Cup Series, and I have a feeling he'd also be the first 4-time champion in league history, too. Am I not correct on that?
I would think when you look at some of the major leagues that have been around for some time, not many of them, if any, have had some 4-time champions. I mean, you look back old time to all of RSR championships, right? You look back to the Truck Series, 5 seasons, 4 different champions. Stefan Marinac won 2 Truck Series championships in 2015 and then 2016B. David Comstock won 2 Winter Series championships in 2015 and 17. Of course, Freenash won them back-to-back in 18 and 20. There wasn't a 19 Winter Series, and then, of course, Danson snapped Freenash's streak last winter by becoming the 2021 champion. So Andrew's looking for a 4th consecutive Cup title, which would be a 6th overall RSR Cup Series championship as well. And, you know, this is his 5th year in the league if he could do it. 4 titles in 5 years. In that very first season that he competed in, he came up short 3rd in the championship. So even in his first year, he was a perennial day 1 contender. And, you know, it's just so impressive. And listen, Brandon DeBuy, Agnew Phillip, Daniel Eberhard Nolan could probably go to 99% of the leagues in iRacing and win a title. And they choose to race here in the SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series against some of the toughest competition. You got, you know, nearly half a dozen to a dozen pro-level drivers racing at a time. You know, you got big names like Malik Ray, who has competed in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, who will be racing in the Winter Series this upcoming time around. So these guys could go and take the easy way out, go rack up trophies elsewhere, but they decide to race against the best. And right now, they're just racing at Andrew Freenash's era.
And that's obviously, you know, something very, very special to see for all these guys up here in the front. I mean, he has been doing such a phenomenal job so far on being able to kind of keep his car up there in front. And really just hasn't been able to be challenged so far today. The only challenge he's really had for Freenash has, of course, been, you know, Agnew Phillip. But that was not, well, it was only actually for about 5 or 6 laps or so until Phillip missed 3 and 4. And then, of course, ended up getting the lead from there. And he's just run away with it since then. But apart from that, I mean, the level of competition throughout this league has just been so incredible. And honestly, this has probably been one of the most competitive seasons that this series, I would say, has ever had from what little I've been able to see of it. And it goes to show just how great these guys are when they race around each other. They know how to race around each other. The level of respect you can see for these guys around here is absolutely incredible. But I have a feeling Freenash might have a couple of guys that are going to be looking to give us some serious challenges up next year. You wonder, can he go for 5 for 5? That's assuming he still wins tonight.
There is a long way to go. We learned last year when it looked like it was Michael Laraya's championship, and then a late yellow came out and pit strategy came into that race, that it was done. So I'm not saying anything until that checkered flies, not even the white flag. I'm not even comfortable at that point. Andrew wants to see the checkered flag fly before he lets any sigh of relief out. You know, in terms of trying to win this title. 35 laps to go from Avondale, Arizona. If you're just joining us, you're watching the SimSeats Championship race for the 2021 SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series. The championship leaderboard is on the right-hand side of your screen. Freenash first in this race, first in the points at the moment, ahead of P2 in the race. Agnew Phillip. Brandon DeBuy is 3rd best at the championship 4. He's in 9th. He had an EOL penalty earlier in this race after causing a caution flag, and then Daniel Eberhard 4th at the championship 4, a lap down in 22nd position after having a speeding penalty on a green flag pit stop. That is where we sit, working lap number 124 of 156.
Looking further down the order, you can see Nick Silver and David Washington looking to do battle. This is for spots just further down in the field. I believe it started to dip into the second half of the field, and that's the battle for 16th place on course. You see Nick Silver diving one up the inside of David Washington. They've been kind of going at it for the past little while as well. You've got Sean Kalis, lap car, just in behind them, kind of watching on. There was Agnew Phillip just up the road. Huge bobble for Silver out of turn 2. They recovered nicely, though, maintained the run, and trying to find the upper hand on Washington through 3 and 4, but look at how much more powerful the drive is from Washington around the outside.
David Washington, I mean, we talk about some of the old-time veterans of this series, and David Washington has been a mainstay. You know, we talk about Brandon DeBuy, congratulating him on making his 100th career SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series start. By doing so, he becomes the 28th different driver to ever do so. David Washington is making his 180th career start here this afternoon. I mean, he is third on the all-time start list behind only Dwayne Vincent, who, if he competes next year, he will pass. Dwayne Vincent hasn't competed in a couple of years. His number stands at 186. Brent McBride still active at the very top of the board. He's running 14th tonight in what is career start number 201. So there's a lot of drivers. We talk about this being the 10th year celebration of RealSimRacing, and it all started with this RealSimRacing Cup Series Full Throttle, what is called way back in 2012. Well, a lot of these drivers have been around for a lot of this series history.
Daniel Eberhardt is down to pit road for his second stop on the day. He was going for that two-stop strategy, and he was just now able to come on down to get his first official run and kind of coasting in his pit box. What if he tried to maybe see if he could run out of fuel? And oh my goodness, Evan, how about that? Eberhardt throwing in the towel, officially now out of the title fight.
He's done. Drove it out of fuel. Tried to push it all the way to the end, desperately hoping for a caution flag. He knew that if he pitted for fuel, Nolan, that he was going to fall from a lap down to 2 laps down. And Daniel Eberhardt has pulled his number 90, a Bruzy Sim Raceware and SK Sim Racing Ford Mustang, into the garage. It'll be another missed opportunity for Daniel Eberhardt. And I talked about all his great finishes. It'll end up being a 5th career top 7 finish in the championship. He finished 3rd in the championship for format in 2018. He finished 2nd with this format last year. It'll be a 4th place finish in the championship for Daniel Eberhardt in 2021. His night is officially over.
What a tough break for Daniel Eberhardt. Came into this race arguably second favorite to win. Definitely the driver on paper was looking to be the biggest one to be able to give a run up to Andrew Freenach. But that one mistake early on, when he came down for that first pit stop, just 12 miles an hour over on pit entry, gave him that penalty that put him 2 down. Never able to recover from it. And I think it was safe to say, though, to be honest with you, he was not going to be able to recover from that one. Unless Freenach, Phillip, and Bowie all wrecked out, he was not going to be able to go for a title here today. It's unfortunate, but it's a very bitter truth, I think, that Eberhardt kind of had to come to terms with. There is, of course, always next year.
And of course, we talk about the intervals. This was the same time in that first run as we watched Zach Carr do some battle here. We talked about the intervals on how first run, Agnew Phillip was really good late, Nolan. This was about the time in that run where he started to turn it around. But I think it's only continuing to go Freenach's favor. You see the number 3.7 seconds difference between first and second because Agnew knew, went for the undercut, got the track position, but pushed it so hard for those, half a dozen laps in which they were side by side, and he kind of burned up his stuff. He doesn't have it late. That was his giving it all, and now he can only hope for a yellow and another opportunity. But watching the battle here between Carr and Nieto reminds you just how fast both Freenach and Carr are, Nolan, right? I mean, Phillip's 4 seconds off for Freenach, but he's even 7 seconds ahead of Carr. I mean, in any other world, Agnew Phillip is waxing the field here tonight at Phoenix if it wasn't for Andrew Freenach. Now, tell me if you've heard that before, right? I mean, such a performance so far for Agnew Phillip that those guys are a mile ahead of the battle for 3rd and 4th position.
Just kind of put that into perspective. I mean, just there, Carr crosses the line. Agnew Phillip all the way in turn 2 with Freenach halfway down the back straightaway at the moment. So they are already so far out in front. And I mean, it's unbelievable to see the performance that Freenach and Phillip have been able to put on today. I feel like Agnew Phillip could be a driver to seriously give Andrew Freenach a run for his money next year if he can continue to put on these great performances that we have been seeing so far late in this season. It's just a bit of a shame that we weren't able to see this type of Agnew Phillip earlier on in the season. You wonder if things might have played out differently, right?
Agnew was, so impressive at times. Of course, got his 2nd win of the year at Bristol at the end of the round of 16, Nolan, and thought that it was going to be very topical for Agnew, right? Because he won at Phoenix in the spring, and at that point we were talking to him like, hey man, it's week 4. You're locked in, and you just won at the racetrack that the championship's going to be decided at. He knew he felt good then. And even though he didn't need to really push, Nolan, you're right, he went some, nearly 20 weeks, 19 the number without another race win. Now, of course, 2 race wins is still in the upper echelon. We talked about a lot this year how many different race winners we saw, but I mean, it just felt like this was a track that Agnew Phillip was primed to be good at. He won his only start here earlier this year. He's been good. You know, I talked about that win at Bristol, similar kind of track, right? It was another 750 horsepower track. And again, in any other level of competition, you know, that 7-second gap back to third is probably the gap back to second, and he's leading the race. But sometimes you find a driver like Andrew Freinosh, and there's just only so much you can do. I mean, he is truly one of the best drivers on this service, and I really do hope that he gets another crack at the Road to Pro ladder next year with an opportunity maybe one day to get to the Coke Series. And I know that, you know, there's a lot more that goes on when you talk about that kind of racing, Nolan. You got a lot of teams behind the scenes, right? You got open setups and practices and alliances. It is very different than a fixed setup league like this. But I truly believe that Andrew Freinosh and Agnew Phillip, Brandon DeBowie, and Daniel Eberhardt, all 4 of our championship drivers, could make it to that series.
Kyle Kamer.
Kyle Kamer. A quarter of a screen, a little bit loose off of 2. I just stopped talking to see if he saved it. That was almost a spin.
Wouldn't have had been a story. We were just talking about this seems to be a locked-out championship, and the only thing that can really alter at this point is a caution. Well, Kyle Kamer keeping us on our toes just a little bit here. It's interesting, right? It goes to show that you can never really get too comfortable on a racetrack. I mean, just when you think everything is going fine and dandy, it's, you know, you never quite know what could happen, right? I mean, and I think a perfect example of this would be, you know, a couple of comebacks I've seen before in baseball, you know, right? I mean, you'll have teams that'll be like, you know, 5-6 runs in their front, and they think they're all locked up coming into like the bottom of the 7th, bottom of the 8th even. All of a sudden, boom, a rival team, grand slam, all of a sudden they're right back into it. You can never be too comfortable in really any sporting event, but I think motorsports most of all.
15 laps to go in tonight's SimSeats Championship race. You can see some of the battles ongoing. I mean, how about some, you know, love to Brandon Six and Jaron Weinmaster? I mean, they have been top 10 cars, Nolan, all night long tonight. They are fighting right now for what is P6 and 7, but a tip of the cap to both of these drivers for having some great runs.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Brandon Six has just been phenomenal so far today. Started 9th place. He's been in 6th place, though, very, very consistently so far throughout the day. He's been a very respectful dueler so far in this race. Nobody's been able to get past him necessarily. Jerry Weinmaster has been struggling to do so for the last little while. And even Jerry Weinmaster, usually drivers will, you know, look at themselves and they'll think they want to make up a couple of positions. He started 7th. He has remained in 7th for a good portion of this race. When you look at how far out in front some of the other guys are, though, 7th place is really nothing to frown about.
It is a top finish, but to talk about how late in the season, Nolan, you tend to lose a lot of drivers, right? I mean, last year, I think the Phoenix finale had about 25 cars in it or so. You look back to 2019 with the championship race under this same format was at Homestead. It only had 21 drivers. And that's pretty significant when you consider, you know, that was in a season that had 52 guys compete, right? 30 drivers for a season finale when a lot of guys are, you know, getting ready for the Winter Series that starts in 2 weeks is a pretty impressive number. So super excited to see all of the drivers that have competed with us over the course of this 2021 campaign, and for all of them that are giving us great racing all the way to the very end. As Weinmaster to the inside of 6, it is a battle for P6 in 3 and 4. Weinmaster too tight though, and Brandon Six will defend.
How about that? The 66 car running in 6th place. I sense a bad omen.
In the 66, running 6?
You wonder, bad omen?
I think he'll take it as long as it doesn't go sideways. He's fine with it. I mean, you know, you talk about that. I chose my personal car number to be 13 because everybody said that 13 was an unlucky number. So maybe Brandon's got the same mentality.
I kind of have to agree with you on that one. It's a bit of an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, Brandon Six has had that mentality to kind of just go and get him so far throughout the course of the day. And, oh, Weinmaster pushing up off the apron just a little bit. Gotta always watch out for those little moments where guys push up off the apron. We haven't seen too much side-by-side battling, so to speak, in the last 50 laps or so, but It's those little moments, though, with these worn tires now that everybody's running with under 10 to go. You get side by side, especially if you're throwing up the inside, you're going to push up, and you just got to hope that the guy up above you is going to make enough room for you.
It goes back to that respect that I was talking about a little bit earlier on, right? Pinching a guy down, knowing that you're making his life more difficult, and if he makes any mistake, you're going to be the one to pay as the vulnerable driver on the outside, but trust and respect that the guy that you're pinching can hold it. And, you know, a guy that you've raced with for 20-some-odd weeks over the course of this year that I'm sure you've grown quite accustomed to racing with. Winemaster's not giving this up at all. Miller, I think, a little bit too far back to join the party, but if this comes to blows, he's in the conversation in position number 8 a little bit further back. And, you know, Brandon 6 is doing the Jaron Winemaster what Jaron did to a lot of guys tonight, and that is just hold the top, get the runs off the corner, and make it difficult. We are inside of now 7 laps to go from Phoenix. The gap for the race lead still steady, 5.8 seconds.
So large that has been all race long so far tonight. So just unbelievable stuff from Benjamin Freenach of what he has been able to pull out over Agdale Field to get himself that 5.4, 5.5, and even further up second lead so far. You can still see Winemaster looking at a tango with Brandon 6. How about that for a pinch, though, from the 66, keeping it real Circle B diecast machine to push Winemaster to the bottom. That's not going to stop the 48 car, though, from trying to fight back. How aggressive is it going to be to stick this one up this time up into turn 1? Enough that 6 pushes a bit wide mid-corner.
He's been going wider and wider every single time through, and Winemaster's been the one pushing him up their hill again. Dive to the inside in turn 1 this time. A little bit tight there, sends it off, and Jaron's forcing the issue with 5 laps to go from Phoenix. There are only 13 cars on the lead lap. Nolan, a race that has only had that one single yellow to this point. It was very early on when it was your championship 4 contender, Brandon DeBuey, get it into Matt Danson. He claimed the yellow and dropped to the rear. And now with 4 laps to go, this battle's going to continue all the way to the end, but let's talk about Andrew Freenach up towards the front of the field, looking to continue a historic run. He's about a half a lap ahead of that battle that we've been watching for some time, and this time he sees 3 laps to go.
It would certainly be an absolutely historic moment. Has just been in control of this series since 2018 when he came in strong. Has won 3 titles back to back to back. He has won 2 Winter Series in 2018 and 2020 and is looking to potentially pick up a total 7th championship in the RSR and a 4th one here in the RealSimRacing Cup Series. I'm totally wrong on my math. That would make it 6, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he's looking for number 6, and he's got 2 laps to go in this race. You know, coming into this one, he leads a lot of major statistical categories, right? More wins than anybody else in series history. More poles, more top 5s, more top 10s. It's only natural that going hand in hand with that is that he was the old-time championship leader with 3 entering this afternoon. White flag in the air. 1 last lap to go from Phoenix Raceway for Andrew Freenach. Came into the series, was a competitor right out of the gate, when he finished close in a battle for the championship in 17, won his first title in 18, went back-to-back in 19, tripled down in 2020, and he'll complete the 4-peat this year. Final time in turn 4 for Andrew Freenach, the 2021 SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series champion.
And by far a championship that he has deserved so much this season. He has put in all the work that he needed to. You talked about it earlier, 24 top 10s, making 25, and another win in the win column as Freenach takes the title. What an absolutely unbelievable drive. Cannot be understated, though, just how powerful of a drive and how much of a fight Agnew Phillip gave him in those dying moments of this championship race. What a way to end off a season.
Just listening to all the drivers wish congratulations to Andrew Freenach. First person he acknowledged, Nolan, was Agnew Phillip. talking about the battle between those two drivers and how they were able to fight in turns, 3 and 4 several times side by side for about 5-6 laps at a time. And he celebrates on the front straightaway a 4-time consecutive champion of the SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series. He again proves that he is the best to have ever done it. And now on a third different championship track configuration, he dominates in a race that goes green to the end. Well, as the celebration continues, let's take a look at your SimSeats full race results tonight from Phoenix. Andrew Friedrich with the win. Final margin of victory, 6.3 seconds over Agnell Phillip in position number 2. Nolan also, most importantly, Brandon Bowie ends up third in the title fight in position number 8 on track tonight.
And, of course, that will leave Cody Harris down in 9th place with Jeremy Miller all the way back in 10th to round out the top 10. You've got Eric Stanford in 11th. Kyle Kamer sits 12th with Sean Castell finishing out the last of the drivers down on the lead lap in 13th place. It is Rhett McBride at 14th with Chris Rabel in 15th. Devin Washington finishes out in 16th place with Nick Silver 17th. Braden Whitaker 18th. Ross Cato and Kyle Trudell round out the top 20.
Rest of these drivers out of this race, drivers a couple of laps down. Daniel Eberhardt finishing 25th with a DNF tonight at Phoenix. That also is Daniel's worst career finish at Phoenix all time. He's the DNF along with Amara Jones, Morano, Cruz, and Danson. So look top to bottom at your SimSeats full race results. Since 2009, SimSeats has been designing and fabricating high quality, made in the USA driving simulators, including motion systems, complete turnkey iRacing packages, and custom fabrication. Their customer base includes all racers from the amateur to the pro ranks, and everyone on the SimSeats team is a weekend racer too. Their passion for racing drives them to build better sim racing equipment. Join SimSeats for the thrill of racing at any time, in any car, and on any track by visiting sim-seats.com to learn more. Let's head down to Phoenix Raceway Victory Lane, where we are stood by with your SimSeats Championship race winner and the 2021 SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series champion, Andrew Friedrich. Andrew, congratulations on another one. The four-peat is successful. What a story. You guys continue to be here on Monday nights.
Man, I'm lost for words right now, Evan. I've never put in so much damn practice for an RSR race. I knew Agnell was going to come up with his best, and Brandon and Daniel, and just knew I had to bring my best foot. I had 3 weeks to prepare. I'm speechless. I don't know what just happened. I was nervous all day, and I'm just so happy. I can't even put it into words.
We know that this is a good track for you, right? Historically, you've won here 4 times coming into this, including 2 races that were championship deciders back in 2019 and 2020. Third here in the spring to Agnell Phillip, who took home the win. You knew that he was going to be a challenge tonight, and you guys had a great race through the pit cycle.
Yeah, I wanted to pit 1 lap after him. Right at halfway, and man, I'll tell you what, we only had 2-3 laps left of gas at the end there, so I don't know how close he was, but I think I may have pitted a lap after. I don't know if it was 2 or 1. Sorry, my watch is going off with my phone. But I was able to get to him, and I thought the race was over, and he was in front of me. I don't know. I can't believe 1 to 2 lap fresher tires was just that much better. And I mean, he did not race me easy, and that's what I expect, and that was just awesome. I hope the fans really enjoyed watching that. Side by side, trying to keep it clean, trying not to hit him, and he did the same for me, and it was just it was awesome. The whole experience, the whole race was just awesome.
We were talking as this race went on, you and Agnell were so far ahead of guys. You end up finishing 12 seconds ahead of third on the back. Bowie had his issues, causing an incident, taking an AOL penalty. Daniel, we believe, had a speeding penalty that took him out of this. And we were saying, in most series, these guys could go and win races, win championships. And yet they decide to race here on Monday nights to pin themselves against you and to race with the best. What has it been like for you to compete with some of the best drivers on the service over the last couple years, but specifically here this year in 2021?
Yeah, I've been here 5 years, Evan, and I've loved every second of it. Just the competition. There's guys that are in the Coke Series that were racing here, and you see Daniel now in the pro, and I think Seth the Merchant's there, and I think Brandon McKissick used to race here. There's so many names, and I don't know how we get success and how we do it. So, and especially this year, Brandon came back, and we've raced against him before, and Agnell, who's going to be really fast, and he's already really fast, and Zach Carr, and I mean, just so many people that are so good, and I don't know how we find the speed to beat them, and it's just incredible.
A 4-time consecutive Cup Series champion, 6 times total when you include those 2 Winter Series championships back from 2018 and 2020. You talk about some of the drivers that have raced in this series that now compete at the top level of sim racing. We've seen you, Daniel, Agnell, all compete on that road to pro ladder. What's next for Andrew Freenosh as we look forward to the RSR Winter Series, but more broadly looking forward to 2022?
Yeah, Winter Series, I'm signed up. I'm hoping to make all the races, but my job, if it snows, I got to go out and plow. So we'll see how many we make of it. And, if you asked me as of Wednesday, I wasn't going to be back. This new car is just not anything that I want it to be. They took away horsepower in short tracks, wider tires, which is more grip, a diffuser, just everything was more grip, easier to drive. But I was talking to somebody. We might have something in the works, but I've enjoyed this car so much. Definitely going to try for the Winter Series. Going to go for Road to Pro, but I'm still really not sure what we're going to do next year. But it's been so fun running these 5 years, and I can get talked out of it. I could try the new car and like it. I'm really just not sure for next full throttle season, but that's kind of our road going forward.
Well, we know that whatever you set that 88 car to, you guys will find success for the most impressive run that we've ever seen, year after year after year, and now the 10-year history of this SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series. Andrew, we're privileged to watch you guys battle it out on these Monday nights. We congratulate you on behalf of our partners at SimSeats for being the 2021 SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series champion. Before we let you go off and celebrate, anybody else you want to say hi to?
Yeah, I just quickly do want to say congrats to Agnell on a great finish, and Brandon and Daniel just to get this far. This system is just so hard to get to the Final Four, and I don't want to play down. They all had great years, and they easily could have won this race, and they're all great drivers. So congratulations to all 4 of those. I want to say a big thank you to Evan, and just everybody who makes this happen. I know Tom Morano, he has a big part in all of this, so I want to say thanks to all of them. I haven't said it all year, but a big shout out to the old Aegis team. Dave Washington taught me how to drive on this sim, taught me how to be fast. It's been a while since I talked to them, but a big thank you to all of them. All the drivers in this league, I enjoyed racing Agnell, Bowie, Liam, Zach, just Daniel, everybody. I love racing these guys on Monday nights. It's something I always look forward to. All the fans, I hope we put on a good show. And, man, I just can't believe we won this still.
We'll let you get off and celebrate, Andrew. Congratulations on career championship number 4. And we'll see you guys down the road, I'm sure.
Thanks so much, Evan.
There he is in victory lane, a 4-time consecutive champion of the SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series. Freenosh has done it yet again. Second half of that storyline, Nolan, is Agnell Phillip in his sophomore campaign. Made it all the way to the title fight with 2 race wins this year. He will get a career best 2nd place finish in the championship. You're stood by with tonight's runner-up in the race and the title fight, the 94 of Agnell Phillip.
Indeed, I am. So, Agnell, you join us now up in the commentary booth. You gave it everything you had today, from the undercut to the brilliant defense, but at the end of the day, weren't quite able to keep Andrew Freenosh at bay. But still, his sophomore year and already 2nd place at a runner-up in the championship. That is still a very, very good result, I would say, for your 2021 campaign.
Yeah, it's impossible to feel bad with how all of that turned out. I wasn't expecting to even have a shot kind of undercutting Drew the way that I did there. I think, I don't know what happened on his pit stop there. I wasn't supposed to get in front of him, but I did, and then for a second I had a little bit of hope, and like the the machine that he is, he quickly took it away from me. But yeah, I mean, can't be disappointed with the way that the season played out. Got my first win, lucked into another one, made it to the Final Four. I mean, in a field with these kind of names, it's impossible not to be satisfied with that. We can kind of go into next year and really hope to be kind of on Drew and Daniel's pace all season, and really contending for wins every single week, and trying to really bring the fight to Drew next year.
Tonight, when the caution came out on lap number 8, it looked like we might be getting one of those races where cautions can be more kind of closer together and a few more than normal throughout a race. Did that kind of impact your strategy as the race then turned out to go long and green all the way to the end?
No, I mean, I think at least at the beginning, the strategy was going to be pretty self-evident. If we got into a situation like we did in the spring where I was able to get off strategy and everything kind of cycles out the right way, it would have been good. But for the most part, I was just, my goal was to try and see if I could stay with Drew once I saw that he got pole. I knew it was going to be tough to pass him with how hard it is to pass. So my goal was just to stay close. Daniel obviously got ahead of me on that restart, and that's, I think, when kind of a lot of options really got taken off the table, and that's on me for not really being on it on that restart. But no, I mean, the strategy at that point, nobody was going to pit because you weren't going to get an advantage with 6-lap fresher tires. I had faith in my RSR comrades that we would get some long green runs in here, so I figured we would be fine on that front. Yeah, I mean it just, there's only so much we could do kind of with the way that the race played out on strategy, and we tried to play the buttons that we had.
Of course, when we get around to the 2022 season, of course, we're going to the next gen car, which has so many different characteristics than these Gen 6 cars and drives a whole lot different. I mean, the racing could be a lot more different than what we saw this year around. Do you think it might play advantage to you to try to maybe see if you can knock Freinash off his throne?
Yeah, but not in a good way that speaks to my driving abilities. I mean, from what we can tell, the next gen seems to, especially on the bigger tracks, kind of promote more of the pack racing that we saw with the 550 package at the 1.5 miles, and it's going to be probably that to an extreme next year. So we're all going to be kind of clumped together. I think the races are going to be more of crapshoots, which could benefit me, and it could also, I've had my share of getting caught up in some of those issues at those tracks this year. So I don't know. I don't know how the short track, package like we're going to have at Phoenix probably next year, how that's going to race and how that's going to compare to this one. No one knows how dirty air is going to be in those cars, so we don't know if we're going to get strung out like we do in this package at the shorter track. So it's a big unknown. I'm just going to go into it. The fast guys are the fast guys. It doesn't matter what the package is, doesn't matter what the car is. That's just what the cream rises to the top. So I'm just going to keep working on getting better, and if I can get to Drew's pace on raw pace, it'll show up in any car that we run, and that's the hope for next year.
And of course, we hope that you'll be able to put on such a strong performance next year, just as you had this year. So close, who knows? Maybe next year you'll find yourself up on the top step of the podium at the end of the year. Well, thank you, Agnon, for taking the time out of your night to come and join us here from Phoenix. Congratulations on a second place finish, and best of luck next year as you get set to see if you can take the fight to Andrew Freinash.
Appreciate it, Nolan. You have a good offseason.
I was Agnon Phillip bringing it home in P number 2, doing a fantastic job with that 94 car to bring that thing home in P2 at the end of the night. Still one more driver to give us a chat here before the end of the night, and it is going to be that number 26 car racing designs machine of Zachary Carr himself, joining us up as the third and final driver on the podium. Zachary, you find yourself third place at the end of the night on a race that went surprisingly green for Phoenix.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised we went green that long. The car was pretty good, actually. I mean, normal Phoenix, a little loose in with some tightness in the center and then really loose off. I felt like we had a solid third place car. I don't think we were better than the two guys ahead of us at all. I thought Sam was a little bit quicker than me there. And then he ended up staying out a couple laps later and had newer tires than me on that last run, and I don't know how I held him off. That was a miracle.
So you come home third place at the end of the night, and obviously on the new scan of Phoenix Raceway as well, you had the old scan used earlier on this season, and it's the new one for the season finale. I have to ask, which one do you prefer more? Obviously, they have different characteristics about them. What's your take on them?
Yeah, no, the weirdest part with the new scan is honestly the way the grip is. It's almost as if that resin is still there in the track, because in 3 and 4 for your hot lap, you want to, or excuse me, for 1 and 2 on your hot lap, you want to run that third lane way up next to the wall and cut down an exit. It's really, really weird. I didn't know that until practice tonight. And then 3 and 4, I'm struggling because I'm still trying to drive it like it's the other Phoenix you're referring to, where you just kind of hug the bottom. But here you kind of want to just throttle up early and just push up wide. So I don't really know if I have a preference of the two. Obviously, I think I'm better at the other one because I had more time with it. This is just the first week for this one. So I think over time, I'll start to enjoy this one much more.
Of course, next year rolls around. Obviously, you had some pretty good performances here in 2021. Do you think maybe you could find yourself potentially up in a title fight for 2022?
Unfortunately, due to medical reasons, I'm going to have to skip out on 2022. I really wish I could compete next season, but due to health reasons, I'm going to have to step away for a year. Plan on being back in 23, though, to fight for it. I feel like we'll definitely have a shot at it.
Well, in that case, wishing you all the best of luck on your health issues and hope that you can find yourself with a good bill of health for 2023. And we look forward to seeing you back then in hopefully 2 years.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
And that was Zachary Carr bringing it home in third place here at the end of the night. And Evan, well, that is all the drivers for the podium. But as I understand, not quite all the drivers to talk to tonight, unlike normal.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be joined as well by another driver here post-race, standing by with a 34 machine of Brandon DeBuey, who finishes 8th in the race tonight, and it'll be 3rd in the championship in 2021. Brandon, congratulations, and it was so happy to have you back here after getting a 5th in the championship in 2017 and a 4th in 2018. You continue that ladder up with a 3rd here tonight, but just tell us about the race.
The race was, I tried something different. I needed something that would allow me to kind of rotate the bottom because I knew everybody would be running the high side. And after doing a lot of practice this week, I just wanted to try something different. I know it worked at one track or I think Kansas where I ran the bottom and I was one of the fastest cars. So I was just trying to see if I can replicate that and maybe see if I can kind of do something. Unfortunately, me and Danson had an incident there, and that ended up me going to the back of the line. And then it was just a matter of trying to get through the field and protect the car, protect the tires as much as I could. In hopes that another caution came out, but another caution didn't come out, and I was told several times that you're just as fast as the leaders. You just need a break, just need a caution, which didn't happen, which is actually great. It's great to see that we can actually do a lot better than the practice races and run good and not have all these cautions and really kind of mess up strategies and stuff like that. So overall, it. Still a great race, great season, and I'm looking forward to next season.
I mentioned that you'd competed, for 2 seasons previous to this and then took a little bit of hiatus. Tell us about that decision to come back and join us again on Monday nights here in 2021 and then how your assessment was of your year as a total, right? You double your career win tally. You get 4 race wins this year, 13 top 5s, 19 top 10s.
So I think a lot of it, I was kind of having some issues with the family and stuff like that. So that's kind of why I took a hiatus, and I tried to join up with a couple of friends. They invited me to another league, so I said, okay, maybe just a little change of pace to kind of help, which unfortunately was the worst decision. So then I was like, well, I know if I go back to RSL, I know I have really competitive drivers on this league, and I know that, I have a lot of friends that still ran it. So, there was, basically it was just meant for me to come back. It feels right to be back. It feels right to, be able to contend with Andrew and Eberhard and newcomer Agnell and a lot of the other, and have the team join. So it was the right call to come back. The season overall was, I definitely had my ups and downs. Definitely the highlights is winning back-to-back wins. And winning at being the first winner at Nashville. That was pretty cool. Dominating at Pocono for the most part. And doing some strategy to kind of win some races as well. Some of them kind of slipped through. Definitely some wins that I felt like I should have definitely have, whether it's bad strategy or caution coming out and after I passed somebody, come Phoenix the first time we ran it. But overall, it's a great run. I said on social media that I create, keeping it real in January. So to basically have 4 drivers, come into the playoffs and actually almost had 2 of us make the Final Four was going to be interesting as well. But it didn't pan out that way. But overall, this has been a great season. A lot of lessons learned, especially running my first team in this league. It's actually kind of interesting that I was able to. We were able to dominate the team standings. Don't know if we get a trophy or just a pat on the back for that. But overall, a great season. Love racing, in this league, and you guys put on a great broadcast every race. I mean, it's untouchable compared to the other ones out there. It's been an awesome season.
I can tell you on behalf of myself and our partners at SimSeats, that there isn't a show on Monday nights without drivers of your caliber, Brandon. So I appreciate you being a part of this series. Congratulations on the 3rd place in the championship. And I was going to say enjoy the off season, but I'll just say enjoy next Monday, and we'll see you in winter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks, as always. I just want to give a shout-out to my sponsors, Circle B Diecast, Majors Garage, Southern Creek, After the Turn, Mara Network, Elwood Designs, and, of course, Keeping It Real. We wouldn't be able to show our talent, without, you guys. So can't thank you guys enough. Winter Series is going to be another fun series. Hopefully we get to see some interesting, some new winners and see some other talent come in here. See if they can maybe knock Mr. Andrew off the podium at the top. But we'll see what happens.
We're looking forward to it, right? I mean, there's not going to be a repeat because, Danson stole it last year and he's not there, so the door's open. Yes. We'll see what you got, Brandon. Appreciate everything. We'll catch you soon.
All right. Thanks, Evan.
That is your 8th place finisher tonight for the virtual Phoenix Raceway and 3rd place finisher in the championship for Brandon DeBuie. Big thanks to Andrew, Agnell, Zach, and Brandon for giving us some time post-race, Nolan. And just like that, 2021 has come and gone. There have now been 10 years of RSR Cup Series racing. Fortunate that I've been around for way too many of them. And doing the behind the scenes stuff for the last couple of years, and so grateful for you for being a part of the shows with me this year. Tyler, Hugo, our producers, everybody else who's been a part of a show this season. And what a way to close it out, right? It didn't have the fireworks that last year's championship did with all the yellows and restarts, but to Bowie's point right there, maybe that's not a bad thing, right? Green flag race, fastest car wins it, and just such a testament to what Andrew Freenosh has been able to do on this sim.
And you have to wonder, right now that he is confirmed as a 4-time champion, can he pull a Jimmy Johnson and go 5 consecutive championships in a row? That by far would be a record that could prove nigh impossible to beat for any future up-and-coming racer in the RealSimRacing SimSeats Cup Series, providing that Freenosh doesn't retire from this league anytime soon. But I think he kind of put it in well. I mean, he intends to stay here for the long term, and I have to say, I can't wait to see what's in store for him as he tries to go on this trip to 5.
Yeah, we'll see what he does in the winter series. Of course, he also has the option, right? Going to a new car. He could be Jimmy Johnson, right? And just call it. And that would be a great way for him to go out as retiring on top, right? I think that all the drivers in the series would be happy with either, right? If he retires on top, they get a chance for a championship, right? They're like, oh, we could actually win it. Flip side, if he stays in, they continue to be able to compare their speed to the best of the best. And while we're on camera, I just want to pull up, we talk about the championship here. So Andrew's getting his championship belt. here very shortly. So
hey.
Big thanks to Tom Morano for helping us organize this. So he'll get a championship belt. I've been hanging on to it for the year, but it's not mine. So it finally goes to its rightful owner, and as well some cash prizes to those championship 4. But, I mentioned the off-season, Nolan. It really isn't a bunch of one. We have next Monday off. I get 2 Mondays off a year. And it is the Monday in between Cup and Winter, and then the Monday in between Winter and Cup. So we'll enjoy the week off, but then the Winter Series is back for a 10-race championship as that series returns for an 8th season of competition. It is the NASCAR Xfinity Series cars. So different racing, right? We'll have a couple of new names. It tends to always be about 60 to 70% of that field is drivers who competed in Cup this year, but we see a couple of new faces that are returning to RSR, much like Bowie did this year. We got a couple guys coming back from a few years ago. So that'll be an exciting one, Nolan, in those Xfinity cars 2 weeks from now, back here on RaceSpot TV.
Absolutely, and that means we could be in for a very fun ride. I mean, the Xfinity cars are one that I don't get to call very often on the iRacing service, but they are, I don't understand. Although a lot of people say they don't prefer them. I don't see why, though. They have everything you could possibly want. I mean, they are some of the most competitive cars you can find on the iRacing service, so I'd say perfect choice for a 10-race shootout.
It'll be a fun one, and we hope that you join us then. Until next time, that is it for the 2021 SimSeats Real Sim Racing Cup Series. Again, a big thanks to our partners at SimSeats for making all of this possible. For more information on the thrill of racing at any time, in any car, and in any track, you can visit them online at sim-seats.com to learn more. The hugest thanks to the SimSeats team for making this possible, and again, to the team at RaceSpot TV, for our producer tonight, Tyler Maxon, for Hugo Luis, who was with us for most of the season, for Nolan, and for everybody else who, was in the broadcast booth this year, for myself, Evan Pasoko, on behalf of myself running RSR, on behalf of all of our drivers, want to thank you for tuning in, and congratulations to the 2021 SimSeats Real Sim Racing Cup Series champion, Andrew Friedrich. He continues the streak, secures the 4-peat, and is a 4-time series champion. If you want to learn more information on Real Sim Racing, you can visit us online at RealSimRacing.org. That Winter Series is full, but you can sign up for the waitlist to be invited later on in the Winter Series or for the Cup Series next year. But at least for now, on behalf of everybody, good night from Phoenix, where Andrew Friedrich is a 4-time RSR Cup Series champion.